A very warm welcome on behalf of ELCINA and on behalf of Messrs. Lakshmi Kumar and Sridharan attorneys, law firm, to this webinar. This is, of course, as you can see, it is about the US tariffs and the Trump tariffs as they are known, popularly, and their impact. And the reciprocal tariffs that, the US government is imposing right now. So we hope to get some, clarity on this, and I think our industry and everybody participating will, go more enlightened from here. While this move, it underscores the US's, intent to create a level playing field, but I think it is creating a lot of, disruption in the global markets. Especially, we feel the way it is being done is not really very conducive to, to smooth, international trade, because US is, of course, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, player in this whole game. So with those few words and, ELCINA, I would also, say a few words about ELCINA. We are, Electronics Industry Association, and we started in 1967. So we've been around for 57 years now. And we support, the electronics manufacturing, industry in the country. I would like to say a few words about our key, speaker here today, Mr. V. Lakshmi Kumaran. He's the founder and the managing director of, LKS, and he's a luminary. He's a very, well-known person. I don't think I'm, the right person even to introduce him, but just a few words about him. He's, advising several companies in all areas of taxation, including GST, customs, income tax, international taxation, transfer pricing, etc., which are all very complex subjects. And I think he's done, a lot, to support the industry in all these areas. Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran is also, recently been appointed as a distinguished fellow in Niti Aayog, which says, volumes about him. And in this very senior position, he's advising the government of India and initiating number of, policy initiatives in the field of economic laws, trade and investment, etc. He is also advising the Ministry of Commerce as advisor and participating in various FTA negotiations. Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran today will be assisted by Mr. Devender Bagia and Ms. Disha Jain, both of whom are partners at LKS. So with those few words, I would like to hand the mic to you and to take this webinar forward. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much once again for being here with us.
Thank you, Mr. Dubai. Thank you, Mr. Dubai. I think we'll start. Today's session, about an hour, is basically to understand, decipher the various types of tariffs which US has imposed in the last few days, starting from 2nd of April. But if you know or if you understand the tariffs imposed from 2nd April alone, it may not be enough. Many things happened even earlier. We must have a cumulative knowledge of all the things that have been done. And also, which are the provision where he has given a pass for 90 days. So, we are going to talk to you about tariff actions taken by Trump. That is in general. Then we'll talk about reciprocal tariff, what it means. In this reciprocal tariff, we'll talk about specific key provisions which you need to understand. And what are the specific tariff rates for Annexure 1 for various countries? In this entire thing, there is a provision called duty only on non-US content. What it means, we'll explain. I will also give you a logic, if at all there is a logic, in how Mr. Trump has determined this reciprocal tariff for different countries. What is methodology formula followed by him? I am reminded of my school days where calculus, when you had to make delta x is equal to The same formula I think he has used now in our calculus and trigonometry. Then I'm going to talk about the importance of rules of origin for country of origin. Goods of India means what? I'm going to spend time on that. That's very important for all of you, especially for the electronic industry. And after telling what is the importance, then I'll also tell you how we determine. These are very tricky subjects, but you must know that. Then what does China do for retaliation and where they are? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 or 5 topics or particular sectors of your electronic industry and give a peephole through which you can see what is the future for this particular industry. And lastly, I'll finish with what is the way forward. When it comes to the question of when Mr. Trump came as a president 4 years before, or 8 years before rather, he introduced certain actions, certain tariffs, and an act called Trade Act. Section 301 is a very important section, where US president can impose duties for unfair trade practices practiced by other countries. Using this particular section, duties have been imposed on China, varying rates 7.5%, 25%, in 4 lists: list 1, list 2, list 3, list 4. And these lists cover wide range of products with specific tariff items and products. List 1 carried a total trade volume of about 34 billion, and list 2 carried about 16 billion, list 3 200 billion, and list 4 300 billion of volume of trade between China and US. And varying rates have been imposed, and these rates are valid even today. These rates are being imposed even today. Next. I am not talking about the special duties imposed on steel and aluminum and derivatives. I am also not talking about automobile components, excepting in the case of automobile components and automobiles, there is a duty of 25% across the world. It will apply to India also. Some of the electronic component manufactured by you, if they get categorized as automobile components, some of them may attract the 25% extra over and above all other things. I want you to be careful, but I don't want to elaborate more because it is more on steel, aluminum, and motor vehicles. You are electronic component manufacturers. Therefore, I would say be careful in classification of some of the items. If they go as an automobile component, then it may face further duties, and it are valid duty today also. In addition to that, the Trump administration has also imposed a 10% duty on February 4th, and it is increased to 20% on March 12th for all goods coming from China and Hong Kong. This is under a different act called International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Using this act, these duties have been imposed because of extraordinary threat and national emergency. By this methodology, all the goods coming from China from March 12th will attract 20% duty. Even today, it is valid. It is over and above the normal duty which has been charged from all the countries, from all the parts. This is in addition to that. That is, Trump 1 duty earlier, 301 duty is separate, that is valid. This duty 20% is also valid. These two are in addition to what the normal duty is payable. And if any of the components manufactured by China, if they're imported into US and they suffer 20% duty, and if they're used to manufacture finished product and exported from US, the exporter will not get the drawback of the 20%. It means it is going to be part of his cost. Therefore, a clear signal to them that if you are going to import component from China, you bear the consequences. Even when you are going to export, we are not going to give a drawback of 20% duty paid on the component. Next. Next. One item which is very important to all of you to know is called import tariffs. Here it is, every country, when individual customer is importing certain items of low value, there is an exemption because it is difficult to quantify, collect tax and all those things, etc. It will lead to lots of bottlenecks. So therefore, India also does not charge small value item imported by individual customers. It's a business to customer transactions. US also has this particular law up to $800 if any goods are coming in and imported by not business but by individual customers, they get the exemption. They don't have to pay. For example, if a product is listed in Alibaba and a US customer sitting in New York buys the product by paying, say, $500 for the particular product, and if it is shipped from there directly to US, it is delivered within, say, a week or 10 days, that product will not or was not suffering any duty. This was going on for decades and decades. Mr. Trump says no. This de minimis value of $800 also will not apply to Chinese imported goods. And therefore, even the small $1 item also will suffer duty. From May 2nd, the duty is going to be 120% or $100 per item. From June 1st, it is going to become $200 per item. So, as far as China is concerned, the de minimis exemptions available all over the world is being denied. This is not being denied for India or other countries. China is exceptional. Mr. Trump is threatening that he is going to withdraw even other countries also, but he has not done it. It is going to be administratively difficult for them to administer this. So I leave it there. Next. I now come to reciprocal tariff. Next. Formula. What the US administration did was they took a country A and they asked, what was the total export from that particular country to US? Suppose it is X dollars, X million dollars or whatever it is. What is the imports into that particular country? If exports are more than the imports, then it's called US is having a deficiency as far as the trade is concerned. If the US imports is 100 million and US export to the particular country is only 40 million, that means there is a trade balance of 60 billion. That 60 will be in the numerator and be divided by the 100. as the denominator, and the duty is calculated accordingly. Now we go back to the earlier slide. Now, by this particular formula, European Union goods coming from there will attract 20%, Taiwan 32, Vietnam 46, etc. Because all these things are merely because of in the year 1920, in the year 2024, the trade balance between US and these countries are positive to this extent, and he has imposed the duty. There is no rhyme or reason. Myanmar will attract 44%. The volume of imports into US will be abnormally low. It makes no difference. They apply a formula and they do it. They never even bothered to know whether this particular thing will apply or not. In addition to that, other than these 57 countries, all countries 10%. So minimum is 10% and varying rates. As far as China is concerned, originally they imposed duty of 34%. Then when China retaliated, they added additional duty of 50%. And China did further retaliation, now gone to 125%. So therefore, as far as Chinese goods are concerned, 125% plus 20% plus the annexure 4 annexure duties, all of them will exist and no de minimis. This is how US and China are waging economic trade war. Next. In this, US is now showing some carrot. The carrot is you are Indian. You are exporting goods from India. I am going to impose 10% duty because for 90 days, the varying rates have been reduced to 10%. So that the countries can negotiate what they want to do, etc. But when the 10% is being charged, he'll ask a question. If you are exporting the goods to US of a value of 100, in the manufacture of that, if you have used any product originating from US, suppose that value is $20. That means $20 value inputs have been incorporated in the product which are exported to US. Then I will not charge custom duty on whole 100. I will charge only on 80. That is what he has said. So you call the 10% reciprocal duty will not be levied on the US content portion of this. However, he has also put a de minimis. If the US content only 5%, don't come and waste my time. Minimum should be 20%. If you are a good boy, if you are importing 30%, 40%, 50%, no problem. Then to that extent, I will reduce it from the final sale price and charge you on the remaining portion. That's called not charging on US content. Next. Now I am going to talk about the importance of country of origin. When the same rate applies to all goods from all countries, like India is doing, Europe is doing, US was doing till yesterday, then US custom authorities are not bothered whether the goods are coming from India, China, or because the rate is same. But when the rate of duties become country specific and product specific, then the additional responsibility in US customs to apply the applicable rate for the particular country. You may declare that the goods are coming from India, but it must be accepted by the US custom, it is of Indian origin. If the goods are wholly produced of all raw material component part only originating in India, there is no problem. All the goods, all the raw material, all the component, all the paint, varnishes, blah, blah, everything is procured locally in India, originating in India, no problem. On the contrary, if a manufacturer is a finished product, say a laptop, if he is procuring some material within country, within India, of Indian origin. Some parts are coming from Taiwan, some parts are coming from China. And he assembles them and then exports. That means the product laptop which is coming into US is amalgamation of parts emanating from India, Taiwan, and China. Whether this item is emanating from India or not is a question. If the US Customs Authority decide it is coming from China, this laptop will attract duty of 125 plus 20 plus the 301 duty, blah, 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 plus the normal duty. But if it comes from China, in India, it is 10% plus normal duty. Most electronic component could be under 0% in US. Therefore, that could be a reason. Therefore, it is necessary and imperative that we should know what is the correct interpretation of the word products of India. Therefore, there is importance, there is a need. Then how do you determine? How do you determine this particular product is actually of Indian origin and not some other country's origin? Unfortunately or fortunately, the Trump administration has not given any formula or a guidance or a rule as to how to determine the country of origin. It's not given. It only says products of this country, this rate. Product of this country, this rate. How do you determine this product of this country? Not meant. So therefore, what do you do? You must go by general principles of interpretation. And US being a common law country, unlike European countries where they are civil law countries, the judgment of the courts has the same value or a force as a legislation. So therefore, we looked into number of judgments delivered by the courts in the US to find out what exactly the meaning of the word country of origin, how to determine. And I did not look, when I am talking to electronic industry, I should not be talking about the wood industry or paper industry or textile industry, which is of no use to you, which is of, you don't get anything out of it. So I must pick up those judgments of the courts in the US, which will throw light as far as the components, electronic components, how they are assembled and supplied. So I picked up some of those judgments, which I thought could be of some use. First of all, the general principle to be adopted in determining a product is from a particular country, when the product is an amalgamation of goods originating within India and goods not originating in India, labor and other things is supplied within India. That's the topic I'm talking about. If it is only produced in India, no problem at all. If it is partly out of Indian goods, partly out of outer goods, it's the only question now we have to determine. There, first of all, a general principle applied in the US is from the raw material finished component stage to the finished product stage, is there any substantial transmission? The doctrine is doctrine of substantial transmission. Whether the transmission is substantial or merely it is artificial. Is it merely a make-believe? Is it really a substantial transmission? There may be transformation. Is substantial or not? The next question immediately all of you will ask, sir, what means substantial transformation? What it is? There the courts will say, substantial transformation, what we mean, not in the same judgment, some other judgment, which will say, there must be a change in the name, character, and use. This principle was evolved by the Supreme Court in the United States at least 100 years before. And that law has been applied in India, in Indian Supreme Court, in the case of famous judgments of DCM's sugar mills and South Bengal sugar mills, has adopted the judgment of the US courts in defining what is manufactured in India. Manufactured in India was not defined in Indian law. You not understand what is manufactured, Indian Supreme Court Constitution Bench adapted and applied the judgment of the US courts on the term manufacture, where they say there may be change in the name, character, and use. And I, speaking for myself and for my firm, on the term manufacture in the excise law, there have been several cases argued by us, which will constitute manufacture, which will not constitute manufacture. So therefore, there is enough jurisprudence available in India and enough jurisprudence available in the US to constitute what process will constitute manufacture. Unfortunately, all of you have to go through that. There is no choice. If you want to enjoy the lower duty concession, you cannot understand this. It is complicated. Now, first of all, the test is whether the raw material component part has lost its identity and finished product gets a different identity. Then you can say, yes, there is a change. Suppose somebody, in the same example of a laptop, somebody imported certain components from outside, some component locally, and then assembled into other and then supplied. You will say, sir, I imported the components, keypads and various other electronic components, and I assembled a laptop and then supplied. Therefore, where is the doubt? Is it not manufactured product? Is there not substantial change? Is there not different particulars, etc.? On the face of it, yes, you have made something, etc., and then supplied. The US courts, they also apply another doctrine while deciding these cases. The doctrine is called colorable actions. Judgments may not say in so many words this particular doctrine, yes, but it is in their mind. What is a colorable action? Is that an action done by a person which on the surface will appear to be satisfying the rule of law. Appear to be. Everything is fine, yes. But when you scratch the surface and look deeper, you will find something else. So therefore, it is a window dressing. If you do window dressing and then camouflage what has actually happened, the courts will pierce the corporate veil and then see exactly what is happening. So this is called applying doctrine of colorable actions. Now, in the example of laptop, if the manufacturer here imported all the components, say from China, including PCB populated, screen, everything, in a CKD condition, because you got an order for 1 million pieces, order 1 million bomb into this imported. You assembled them. You imported the component from China, assembled them. There is a value addition, say 40%. You say, sir, I imported components. I manufactured the laptop. Laptop is different from the components. Substantial change has taken place. There is manufactured, therefore I must get. On the face of it, surface, perfect. US courts will ask you, thank you very much, sir. You are a good boy. But what did you do? You put them together, right? Did you do anything on the component? What is the skill needed by you to produce this? Either screwdriver technology or high-level technology. Is this particular thing is nothing but, putting in a gunny bag, this 100 components of a laptop, you put them in the form of this. You are putting them in a laptop form is no better than putting this component into a gunny bag. Because you have not done anything on the components. It is merely assemblage. There is no manufacture. Therefore, at the component level, they see whether what have you done is really correct or really manufactured or not. Now, I know all of you will get confused. My job is not to confuse you. My job is to alert you. You have to be extremely careful. with regard to the product or components they are going to import, how we are going to assemble, what operators are going to do on the manufacture of the components, and then exporting is to US is important. If you don't follow this, just imagine what are the consequences. You may be thinking that your products are being imported by you, your own warehouse or something, etc., coming at a rate of 10% plus, say 2% duty and normal duty, 12%. And if the US custom authorities probe further and they find that this laptop, you did nothing more than mere assembly and nothing was done on the components, and therefore there is no change. It is merely the component imported from China, and as such is supplied to me here, supplied to US here, accepting all, putting them together. The extra skills are not needed. Therefore, you did not do a great job. It is basically a circumvention of the parts coming from China. Had that been imported directly into the US, it would have attracted 125 plus 20 plus 20 plus, which you are now trying to throw wool in my eyes, throw dust in my eyes. You think all the US custom officer dumb fellows, and you are the smartest fellow, and therefore you wanted to enjoy the benefit of the lower duty. I am not going to deny, I am not going to allow, I am denying the concession. And there are big fraud. You are actually passing off the goods of China into US as if it is done by you, which is also wrong. Therefore, I'm going to confiscate the goods. I'm going to impose fines. I'm going to impose penalties. I'm going to prosecute. Or to prosecute the importer. Consequences are disastrous. So therefore, I am not frightening all of you. For heaven's sake, please don't think I am frightening you. But it is my duty to caution you how important it is as per the determination of country of origin. Next. I now look at the country specific duties and where does India stand. I am for a moment forgetting about this 90 days pass button. After all, it was done 1 day later. You do not know if 90 days will continue or you'll suspend. He can suspend within 90 days also. Nobody can question the Maharaja, Sultan, whatever you enter, he does. And the US administration prepares a note immediately and he signs it. I hope I am not committing contempt of the President of the United States. Be that as it may, if this duty revives in the same form or modified form, India will attract 26% duty plus normal duty. It's a big duty. But all of you may be putting your head on your head and then say, hands on your head and then say, doom. Don't do that. It's not a doom, it's a zoom. If you do apply properly. Look at the rates of other countries. Who are your competitors? Leave alone China first. Taiwan, Thailand, etc. All of them rate duties are higher than yours. The East Asian countries are closer to you. Who have the ability to manufacture the electronic component supply. These are the companies. These rates are higher than your rates. First of all, therefore, you must give a sigh of relief. Now I want to show that if you look at the trade war between US and China, something is staring at me. If you look at the import of machineries and mechanical appliances after 84, the non-electrical goods, machineries, From China, US imports to the extent of $8.5 billion, whereas India is exporting only 0.7. Whereas electrical electronic equipments, your products are coming at 85. US import from China is about 12.7 billion, whereas India is only 1.4. Now come to next one. I took up 4 or 5 products of electronic industry and tried to understand where we are. Let us take the case of smartphones, which is now the talk of the day today. If you take total imports into US, you find China has exported to the tune of $41.5 billion worth of smartphones alone to China, to US, which occupies by 81% of the market share or the import share. As far as India is concerned, last year we exported about 14%. From next year onwards, or this year onwards, the duty of smartphones into US from China is going to be 125 plus 20 plus plus plus. Whereas India will be 10 plus whatever duties. There's a huge difference. US importers would normally would like to not to buy from China and see whether India can supply. So there is an opportunity knocking at your doors to manufacture from India and supply, provided of Indian origin. That's first. The second, if you take switching and routing apparatuses, again, if you find what exactly is the market share of India, is about 6%, whereas China is about 15%. Taiwan, of course, is high, and Mexico is a FTA part of US, about 19%. Here again, I find that there is going to be a reduction in volume of export from China to US, and India should be able to grab some portion of that market. Next. Printed circuits. This is one of the important things where China export about 31%, Taiwan 29%, and India is not to be seen anywhere, namely about 1% now. Here again, I find that PCBs, especially popular ones supplied from here, can boost. Next. Inverters. Look at the way in which market work operates. Thailand about 27%, Italy from Europe by 13, Japan 14, India is about 10%. And China is already 1% there. Here again, there is opportunity. All I am trying to say is this, that we can look at various types of products that India is capable of exporting to US. And we should sit down and analyze that particular product, what is the applicable rate in US for all countries, and particularly India. And do not stop with that. You should further probe the same goods coming from different countries, including China, what rate will apply. And I don't want you to see only today, because there is a tariff suspension of the remaining act. Suppose the suspension is suspended, which he can do, or after 90 days, if the countries do not come for a negotiation as he expects. Because he wants you to bow down and then say, I will create market for you, plus I will not ask you to do anything. That's what he is expecting. So what happens? If the duties are revived, then you are going to have a different situation whereby you are in a position to export more because US demand exists. There is a gap or a vacuum created by the lack of export from China. Whether we should leave it to Taiwan or other countries or India should grab is in your hands now. As far as we are concerned, we are concerned about you. We want you to succeed. We want you to export more. Any support you need, definitely we'll be more than happy to. From your side, if you look at that, India is emerging as a major electronic producer. We are still depending on components and key material from outside, especially from China. Crucial machineries, capital goods are also coming from China. It is time that your industry engages with Niti Aayog and Commerce and other ministries. That here is an opportunity. How can they work together, government and the sector, work together to expand the operations and expand the product export from here? And we must also ask the Ministry of Commerce, when they are engaging with the US, the bilateral trade, what type of duty concession you must ask for in the US, and for which all of you must sit down. If you want to have my help, I can help you. What exactly the applicable rate of different parts of electronic items going from India? Please don't look at Chapter 85 alone. Electronic goods can come anywhere. It can motor vehicle part, it could be railway part, it could be aircraft part, it could be daily appliances. It can be anything. So therefore, whatever is the components, what are the items you are manufacturing and exporting to US, we need to determine what the correct classification of the product, what applicable MFN rate in the US, and then apply what is the extra rate applicable in different countries. This exercise has to be done. Only when you do this exercise, you can use the rate arbitrage. If you don't do that, then you are blind. You are like a shot in the dark. It is not. It is like carpet bombing, where an aircraft comes and bombs without any target. The bomb may hit the target, may not hit the target. It's taking a chance, 1 in 10, 1 in 100. On the contrary, it may be a drone attack. The drone so specifically the particular place and then hit. So the chance of conversion is high. So therefore, I want all of you to sit down and do this exercise. And this exercise is not a one-time exercise. The rates are changing dynamically. So you need to necessarily understand how the rates are fixed periodically and how do you get the advantage of this great arbitrage. That's the most important thing. And you must make representation to the government what type of concessions you want in US, what type of non-tariff barriers we face when exporting the goods, how do you dismantle them, how do you part of negotiations, what type of trade facilitation you want. All those things, etc., you need to sit down and then talk, because this is the time when India is negotiating with the VTA, with the US, and electronic industry is important for the government. So therefore, you need to necessarily engage with the government on what you want. Therefore, if I say, what should be your way forward? I would say, first of all, identify the classification of your product, look at the US custom tariff, and it is not easy to find out. It is a 10-digit classification. It has got very ifs and buts, and people conversant with this particular tariff alone will be able to decide the correct classification rate of duty. I am not saying I am the best. I am not saying that, nor am I using this platform to canvas for my brief. But I must tell you that the knowledge of the US customs tariff, knowledgeable lawyers, forget India. Even in the US is number less because it's complicated. It is not like a simple lawyer who can go and find out what it is, nor an accountant who can say this is the number. It requires a discipline of a lawyer who has very good knowledge on the technology portion, especially electronics, latest ones. Your growth and innovations are so fast. So to keep track of your innovation is so difficult. So therefore, you require the lawyers who understand the technology, who understand the discipline of harmonized code, understand subheading notes of the US tariff at 10-digit level, and say what is the correct classification. So the number of population to the lawyers who can do the job is very less, unfortunately for you. So therefore, we have very limited choice to go, but kindly go to the best because you can't afford to commit mistakes. That is one. Second, demand supply gap. You can definitely you must find out that. For that, you must do a lot of work regarding the statistics of how the uh, US import statistics, how does it look like at the 10-digit tariff line wise. Also engage with the government and Niti Aayog and representation with the government agencies, especially for the bilateral trade. These are the things which you should do and what you should not do. First of all, do not try to take law into your own hands. Do not believe what you're doing is of Indian origin. Please consult an expert. You should not get into a problem of doctrine of circumvention. If the US customs alleges that you are passing off the Chinese goods as if it is India goods, etc., your goose is cooked. 10 years down the line, you may succeed, but it's torture during the 10 years. So therefore, be careful about this. Understand the valuation rules, understand the classification rules, and in your zeal to increase the exports, and very important is asking for the price reduction. And looking at the volume, if you are going to reduce the prices to a level which ultimately can be accused of dumping, then whatever you have enjoyed, all gone. So therefore, it is necessary for you to do what is known as the price monitoring. That the price at which goods are exported to US or other India, other Europe, whether they are, there can never be accusation of dumping. How do you calculate normal value? How do you calculate export price? What is the cost? Whether ultimately this particular item can ever be accused of dumping? All those you must very, very clearly you must find out. And last but not least, you must also ensure understand fully about sanctions. US government has issued several sanctions against various countries for various reasons. Sanctions are country specific, company specific, individual specific, bank specific, and sector specific. So therefore, you must understand the sanctions. These are the very powerful ones. And if you happen to get a product from a sanctioned entity and export from this to US, forget the rate of duties. The consequences are disastrous because any goods entering in the US from a sanctioned country or entity through another conduit is a very serious offense. So you have to be careful about that. So if you are careful about what you should do and more careful about what you should not do, then according to me, the market is open. It is for you to take it. This is the greatest opportunity for your industry to pick up the threads, expand, and export more. You can not only double, you can triple, 4 times you can do because there is a gap, there is a vacuum in the US. Please fill up the vacuum and create more jobs as far India is concerned. The day when US is tightening the immigration, the best talents will be available now here. And the best talents can use for innovations. You must do lots and lots of patents, designs, trademarks, and copyrights. You must create your wealth on the products, come with products of that nature where you become unique. You should be charging premium for your products. All I want is country like India should actually profit from these type of situations, and it must create enough number of jobs for the people in India and enough opportunities and wealth for all the manufacturers who are exporting from here. I have no other things except in wishing you the best of lucks and offering any help you want. Our offering will be more than happy to provide all the help to you. And with this,